Hello everyone. In less than a month or after a few weeks, the state budget of Odisha will be presented in the state legislative assembly. And we know that first Government of India presents the budget in the parliament, and then the state government presents the budget in the state legislative assembly. Last year the budget was presented on 22nd February, and this year also we may see that towards end of the February the budget will be presented by the Honorable Finance Minister Sri Niranjan Pujari, and I am sure the Finance Secretary would be busy and helping the Finance Minister in preparing the budget. So we should discuss what will be the expectation on the budget size of this year, because we know that the COVID pandemic has impacted the finances. That is the usual concern, and so whether the revenue situation has become normal or not, and we know that the pressure on the government will be to increase the expenditure size, and what has really happened to the fiscal health of the state, that we need to know. So if we see the last 5 years and see the budget announcement, the proposed budget size, then this is the trend that we get. Last year, or we can say in the current fiscal year, which is 2021-22, the Finance Minister had budgeted to spend about 1,70,000 crore rupees, and so this amount was 1,06,000 crore in the year 2017-18. So this amount has steadily increased, even though last year, in fact, the COVID started from 2020-21, and so that means the 21-22 fiscal year was impacted by the COVID-19. In spite of that, the Finance Minister presented a budget size of 1,70,000 crore, which was an increase of 20,000 crore rupees. And so what would be the budget size this year, that we will see. But before that, let us review when the state government presents such a big budget, size budget, whether the state is able to really spend that much money or not. So we'll make a comparison whether the state has been able to spend the allocated money, or whatever was allocated in the budget, whether what was the actual expenditure in those years. And if we compare those numbers, we see that the state is not able to spend the amount of money that is proposed in the budget in last 5 years. And for also the information of you, we should recall that every year in the mid of the year the government brings a supplementary budget and announces to spend about an extra 15,000, 20,000 crore rupees, and so whether that is really adding the to the expenditure of the state, that we should see. And these are the actual expenditure and the budget allocation made in that particular year. So we see that 2017-18 the state had proposed to spend 1,06,000 or 7,000 crore rupees, but then it could spend only 97,511 crore rupees. And in 2018-19 it had proposed to spend 1,20,000 crore rupees, but then it could spend only 1,13,000 or 14,000 crore rupees. And in 2019-20 it had proposed to spend 1,32,000 crore rupees, but it could spend only 1,25,000 crore rupees. And 2020-21 we don't have the actual estimate. We may get it very soon, but then in the revised estimate we saw that although the state had proposed to spend 1,50,000 crore, it could spend only 1,35,000 crore. So this is almost 15,000 crore less than the proposed amount. Similarly, for the year 2021-22, the state government had proposed to spend 1,70,000 crore rupees, we'll see whether the state will be able to spend this much money. Why? So every year we see that almost 5 to 10,000 or 15,000 crore shortfall happens. So state is not able to spend this much money, even though the budget allocation goes on increasing every fiscal year. And then coming to the current fiscal year, let us look at the CAG data. What is it's saying whether the COVID-19 pandemic has really impacted the finances of the state, whether we have collected more revenue, whether we could spend more money, or whether the COVID-19 has impacted the finances of the state. That we need to know, because this would really have an impact on the budget size in the coming fiscal year. So if you see the spending or the expenditure or the revenue collection data, then we have data up to the month of November. December month data is not yet available online in the CAG website. So by November of this fiscal year, the state government has been able to mobilize 67.41% of the budgeted amount. So state government had proposed to collect 1,25,600 crore rupees in the entire fiscal year, but by November the state has been able to collect 84,670 crore rupees, which is 67.41%. And this is in fact a significant rise in the revenue collection in the fiscal year, because if you compare the situation in the last year, which was seriously impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdown, by November the state was able to collect only around 39%, but this year it has gone up to 67%. In fact, if we also go back to a normal year, say if we go back to the year 2019-20, which was a normal year, then also the amount would be around 50%. So there is a significant rise in the revenue collection of the state. And then we should see whether this revenue collection rise is due to the own effort of the state, or the fiscal transfer from the center has helped us in getting more money. So we see that there is a substantial rise in the GST collection of the state, because last year, so this year we have collected already 64% of the budgeted amount, but in last year it was only 46% amount that we had collected up to November. Similarly, if you go to the stamp and registration fees, we also see there is substantial improvement from 50% last year to 60 or 70% in the current fiscal year. And similarly, in the land revenue collection also, we see there is substantial rise from 72% to almost 96% collection. So there is a huge jump in the revenue collection, both stamp and registration fees and land revenue. And then if we see the non-tax revenue, then so we can also compare the transfer from the union government. This has also gone up significantly, because last year by November we had got only around 33% of the state share of the union taxes, but this year we have already got about 61%, so around 20% rise in the flow of funds from the center. And then coming to the non-tax revenue, very interestingly, the non-tax revenue collection of the state has gone up significantly. The state had budgeted to collect about 20,000 crore rupees in the entire fiscal year, and but by November 2021, the state has already collected 30,527 crore rupees, which is already 153% of the budgeted amount. So it's a very good thing. That of course the reason is that state has been able to auction a few mines, and that has led to substantially rise in the non-tax revenue of the state. And similarly, the grants in aid collection, there is a reduction in the grants in aid contribution part. And coming to the capital receipts, state has not really borrowed much funds, so what we can say is that the state has seen a substantial rise in the revenue collection, both in the share in the taxes from the government of India and its own revenue, that is GST, own GST, state GST collection, and non-tax revenue importantly, and stamp and registration fees and land revenue. So this would help. So first of all, this implies that the economy is moving towards a normalcy, and economy is now going to a normal track. So it will help the state government to propose a bigger size of the budget. And then coming to the expenditure, although we saw that the revenue collection of the state has gone up quite significantly, we should see whether the expenditure of the state has gone up or not, because during COVID-19 usually people would expect that the state should spend more money because people are suffering, and then industries are struggling. So in such a situation, the government should spend money to revive the economy so that people get employment, and then the livelihood of the people are supported. So what has happened to the expenditure of the state? And we see that the expenditure has not really increased compared to the revenue growth that the state has witnessed. Because we see that the revenue expenditure has gone up compared to last year very marginally by 2%, and capital expenditure also around by 2%. And if we see the sector-wise expenditure, then social sector has witnessed only moderate rise, and general expenditure almost has remained constant or has fallen a little bit. Then social sector has seen only a marginal rise in the spending, and economic sector also a very marginal increase. So although we see that there is 20% rise in the revenue collection of the state, the expenditure rise increase in the state is only 2 to 3%. So this is not a good thing. And so what we see is that ultimately the total expenditure has gone up by only 3%. And then so as a result of which we see that there is a substantial rise in the revenue collection of the state, and but the expenditure has not gone up by that much. So we see that as of November 2021, the state had maintained a substantial hoping amount of revenue surplus, that is 25,000 crore rupees, which is quite a huge amount. And then of course we may say that towards the end of the fiscal year a lot of spending would happen, there would be loss in the expenditure, but that is not a good thing also. And similarly, as of November, the state government has reported a fiscal surplus, and of about 17,000 crore rupees, and it has proposed to have a deficit of about 20,000 crore rupees. It has maintained a huge surplus. So we don't know whether the rise in the revenue collection of the state would lead to a fiscal surplus this year. And if at all the state goes for a fiscal surplus, I would say this is not a good thing, because in a pandemic year the state government should spend more money so that we are able to bring the economy on track, and the lives of the people are also saved. Of course, we can see that probably due to rise in the revenue collection, the state is announcing a lot of schemes such as direct cash transfer to the people, and because there is already election in the state, and so government wants to attract the voters by transferring cash to the people. So similarly, government has also already announced to appoint teachers in the primary schools. So that is a good thing. So state should increase the expenditure. Now, after knowing the revenue position in the current fiscal year, basically we get a sense that economy is gradually moving towards normalcy, and economy is coming back to the track, because revenue collection is increasing. And in fact, at national level also, state government has drawn the attention of national media in the Gst collection. Many states are asking why Odisha is able to, how Odisha is is collecting so much of revenue, and it is seeing a substantial rise in the GST collection. So what is the reason behind it? So basically the reason is the revenue coming from the mining industry, and that has helped the state to mobilize a lot of revenue. And then if we suppose try to say guess like what would be the size of the budget for the year 2022-23, which will be presented by the finance minister in February, we would expect that, I personally I would expect that the amount may go up to 1,90,000 crore, or if the finance minister gets tempted to round it off, he may go for 2 lakh crore. Okay, so that chance is quite high that finance minister may think to take a credit that we are now making a very big budget, 2 lakh crore. So the range would be that, and most likely I think we may go for a close to 2 lakh crore budget. But if we just take a 20,000 crore jump, I think most likely the finance minister take a long jump and may go for almost 2 lakh crore, or definitely more than 1,90,000 crore budget. So because and that would be quite logical also, because things are improving in the state, and so that's what we would expect, quite a bigger size of the budget for the year 2021, 22 and 23. And in our next videos we will discuss how different sectors would have different implications. What should we expect from different sectors, and particularly health, education, agriculture, industry. What should we expect from the government, or what should we demand from the government? Now that we know that Government of Odisha has comfortable revenue position, we should also demand more from the government, and we shall discuss in details what should government do for specific sectors. Thank you very much for watching this video.